This podcast contains strong language and discussions about relationships, sex, and love. It may not be suitable for younger listeners. This is the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast, and I am Nixalina. Hi, it's Nixalina. Welcome back to another episode of Can't Keep My Mouth Shut. My mouth can't keep it shut. And this week, we're discussing an episode of which I have never covered before. And you know what? 8 seasons in, it's actually pretty hard, pun intended, finding topics I've not covered. Because what are we looking at, 150 episodes or something? 4 or 5 years now? It's a lot of sex, dating and love chat, isn't it? But this episode, I haven't. And it is called Let's Discuss Female Ejaculation and Squirting. Hello, yes, let's talk about squirting. So. If y'all have watched any porn, it's very, I have, fair. Don't hate it, quite like porn, me. Oftentimes there's a lot of squirting, and mostly it feels like it's this imaginative thing that only porn stars can do. And I want to dispel that and talk about very real ejaculation and squirting. And I thought we'd start by just sort of education on it, really. Because if I'm honest, I think most of us would think female ejaculation and squirting is the same thing, and it's not. It's different. Can you believe that? It's actually 2 different things. Which is why I thought, let's start there, shall we? So, female ejaculation is when the female's urethra expels fluid during sex, okay? So this can happen during arousal, but it's not necessarily associated with having an orgasm, right? So usually it is through an orgasm, but it can happen at any point. You know, like when a guy fingers a girl and he's like, oh, you got really wet. It's probably a bit of female ejaculation. So the ejaculation is the release of urine. Yeah. Oh, I know. 2 minutes in, we're talking about piss, for fuck's sake. I hope no one's eating dinner. Female ejaculation is a release of both urine and a substance from the female prostate, right? So it's the skin glands. It's the glands inside. And the ejaculate fluid is different from the fluid that lubricates your vagina during sexual arousal or like when you get wet. So you can, it's difficult to get your head around. So you can ejaculate when you're getting aroused, but the fluid is different to that, oh, she's so wet, sexual arousal fluid. But you can also ejaculate when you're aroused. And not necessarily when you're having an orgasm, but often you do ejaculate when you have an orgasm. Does that make sense? I know it's very difficult. Perhaps Google this for a little bit more in-depth research, should you need. You're like, Nix, I don't get it. Squirting, on the other hand, refers to the urine, which is expelled from the vagina during an orgasm. And not everyone with a vagina can squirt during an orgasm. Might not ever squirt, and that's also okay. We're going to get to that later. But this type of orgasm, a squirting orgasm, basically includes a rapid ejection of urine from the bladder, right? So more piss. If it makes it easy to understand, it is possible to squirt and ejaculate at the same time, right? It's possible. You can do both. Ejaculation from the vagina may include a small release of like milky liquid that doesn't gush out. You following? Squirting, on the other hand, is usually a much higher volume and gush. Okay? Got that? Hi, allow me to pop right in here for a quick break and introduce you to today's sponsor, which is the Meat Club, an online food delivery service based in Singapore. These guys started out in 2014 because they were finding it difficult to source high-quality, affordable meat in Singapore. And I totally get where they're coming from. I really struggle with my home cooking on finding the produce. Now, I love to cook a British Sunday roast dinner. If you're on my Instagram, you know it's my thing. But it's always about the produce and ingredients you start off with. And so when I found the Meat Club, I was really excited to try out their fresh, organic, cage-free chicken, the vegetables. They source everything from New Zealand and Australia, so that kind of tells you the quality of food that you're dealing with. Now, they're not a butcher's, so let's get that straight. They do not touch, fill, see, or open any of the produce. They completely trust their suppliers to bring in the best food, which means they also remove any unnecessary freezing and defrosting cycles. Basically, you're getting, I say as best you can, farm to table, given we do live in the city, right? Now, with these guys, the subscription service that they offer, you can do it every week, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, or you could even do a one-off shop just to dip your toe in, see if you like it. But I love how they take the hassle and the stress out of worrying whether my kitchen and fridge is going to be full of food or not. You can do quite literally a click, set and forget subscription model with them. That's it, done and dusted. You don't need to worry anymore. They also offer $140 in rewards with your subscription service. And if you use my personal code, NIX15, that's NIX15, you will receive $15 off at checkout. So once again, thank you so much to the Meat Club for sponsoring today's episode. And thank you for making my personal roast dinners taste even better. And with that, we'll head back to the story. So, squirting is when you orgasm. Ejaculation doesn't have to be when you orgasm. It usually is, though. The ejaculation is a substance from the prostate being released and a bit of urine. Squirting is mostly urine. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry to say that, but it basically is. There's vaginal lubricants mixed in with the squirt, but it's pretty much just urine. And you can live your life having your orgasms with your mild ejaculation. You didn't really know what's happening because it doesn't go mental, which is a little bit inside, like, oh, okay, I felt a bit more wet then. And you can live your life like that. It's great. It's great. Or you can be a squirter and you soak the bed every time. Now, here's the deal with squirting. It feels like men these days think that we women should be able to squirt each time. If you don't squirt or soak the bed, then you're not pleasured and they've done a bad job and rah, 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 rah. It's not the case at all. And if anything, whilst physically, yes, every woman can squirt. Physically, we can. But it's probably less than like 50% actually do. And it feels like there become this pressure on women to fulfill this squirting fantasy because it makes men feel like they're the king of the world. Oh yeah, I made my missus squirt. Like it has any reflection on their prowess. Now, to be fair, sometimes it is about the dude. And let me tell you about my personal squirting history. Thank you for asking. I know you're wondering. I assumed I couldn't, never ever. No, nothing. Until I got to early 30s, and I was with my long-term partner. I was with him for 5 years, and I got to be honest, our sex was fucking great. That sexual connection, I think, kept the relationship going for as long as it did. Never, even when we were like breaking up, it was just banging sex. And I felt really comfortable around him physically because, you know, we were in a long-term relationship and kind of whatever. So I really relaxed with him. And I remember the first time I had squirted and I didn't know it was happening and he didn't know it was happening. And he kind of like was like, what just happened? I was like, I don't know. oh my God, did I piss myself? And I was really embarrassed. And then afterwards, we were like, oh my God, you squirted. And then I was like, oh, I just didn't think I could. And that was that. That was happened just once with him. And then my fiance, no, never, ever, never, no, not with that one. And then I had a guy who I did an episode about called My Fingering Game Changer. He did. I was a one-nighter at F1 years ago, and I cannot tell you how incredible he was, but I had never squirted like that before, and I was like, what the fuck? And I remember lying there and I was so drunk. It was like 5 a.m. It was F1, man, like after parties. And I just assumed with that much booze and dancing, I was knackered. Like, it wouldn't even climax, let alone that. And I remember being like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, I can do it again. Let me show you. And then he did it again. I was like, oh my God, can I keep you forever? And then recently, the guy who brought me back to life in the summer, he did. But my boyfriend before him, no. So it's up and down. And it really actually does depend, I think, on the guy that you're with and how comfortable you feel with them. But it's also about how comfortable you feel about your own body, right? So some sex experts kind of recommend stimulating the G-spot to achieve the squirting orgasm, and I would say that's how I do it. I say me. It's usually a guy, and they're well-equipped fingers. Well done, my man. So I say if you can do it yourself or with a sex toy yourself, and start to feel more comfortable with your body, then great, do that. Obviously, if you need a guy or your partner or, whoever you're with to go for it. But the G-spot stimulation is kind of essential to the squirting, basically. You're probably never going to achieve it if you don't get there. So I guess we can look at using lots of lubrication, combining the clitoral stimulation with G-spot stimulation as well. Say that when you're drunk, G-spot stimulation. You can use sex toys that are designed specifically to stimulate the G-spot. You can also do things like bearing down on your pelvic muscles when you're nearing an orgasm to try and help with the squirting aspect. You can also strengthen your vaginal muscles with Kegel exercises. They're always great anyway. I mean, they're just great. I do them. You should do them, whatever. Like, nothing bad comes out of Kegel exercises. Nothing. Right? Only good things. But yes, whilst I wanted to talk about squirting, ejaculation, everything's so individual. I couldn't really sit here and give you a tutorial on how to squirt because honestly, even for me, like none of, my recent long-term boyfriends that I live with, they didn't, and they didn't seem to care either. Whereas guys that were a shorter thing or they did it. So I'm like, hang on a minute, then wait. So what do I feel more comfortable around these guys? Or is it because I'm not totally invested or I know it's, a fling so that I can? I don't know. But I definitely believe if you can't ever squirt and you've never done it and you don't give a shit, good. Please don't have anyone make you feel crap or like you are not good in bed because you don't squirt like a fucking porn star. Yes, physically you can, but most women don't. And if you just ejaculate when you orgasm, great. And if you orgasm and you don't even ejaculate much, great. Good. As long as you're enjoying yourself. This is not a one-size-fits-all, pun intended, kind of sexual aspect. Like, it is so subjective and it's so different per person. And where you are, even mentally, you might be able to squirt when you first meet your boyfriend, and then months down the line, stresses in life, or he's becoming a dick, and then you can't because you're emotionally and physically blocking away. Like, there's so many different things. But yes, I thought I would discuss it because I think it's really important to know it is two different things. Ejaculation is not the same as squirting. Well, you can do both, or just one. Or none, okay? And it's all fine. As long as you're enjoying yourself, that's all I fucking care about. Also, it can take a while to learn to squirt, or maybe you just get to your age of no fucks given, because my 20s didn't do any of that. Right, no. And then 30s hit. Yeah, they say your 30s are your new 20s, and my girlfriends, let me tell you, they are. I would not trade me now for 20-something Nix in a million years. And on that note, I shall end this episode. I'm sure you will all find this very intriguing. Can't wait for the DMs about this one. As always, my Instagram is an open book. You can message me at Nixalina, Nixalina. And with that, I look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks for listening to the Can't Keep My Mouth Shut podcast. Produced and hosted by me, Nixalina, and recorded in the Splice Cast Studios in Singapore. I'm available to listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and all major podcast listening apps. Do subscribe to enjoy a new episode every Monday evening. Please do give me a 5-star review. It helps other people also find my podcast. For more content and features to read, you can check out my website, Nixalina.com. That's Nixalina.com. I'm also on social media. Simply search at Nixalina, Nixalina, to find me. Don't be shy. Come say hi.